Newt Gingrich joins us now, 50th Speaker of the House of Representatives, as we are awaiting, whether or not this accuser actually shows up. And meanwhile, the president just dropped a hammer on China. We'll play that for you and for Newt in a moment. Newt, great to talk to you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and you're exactly right. And the president was right. This is a con game. It's not real. It can't be real. I mean, you can't come out 35 years later with a charge that was totally unsubstantiated and then start finding hearsay, people who might have heard you say something sometime. It's nuts.
Yeah, who are friends and who are trying to buck Christine Ford up. Newt, do you think this actually happens tomorrow? Do you think she actually shows up to testify tomorrow?
I think it's even money. I think faced with the fact that she goes first, that they have decided to bring in a woman who is a specialist in these kind of cases to ask the questions. So they're stripping away from the Democrats all of the psychodrama they wanted of men asking questions of a woman. And given the fact that she really, if you sit down and you take her case and you imagine yourself in that seat, there's not much there. And I think having to defend that lack of anything real could really blow up on her.
Well, I think, again, the president, his instincts are usually so good on this stuff, and the Republicans and the president had been kind of hanging back and just, well, we want to accommodate as much as we can. We want to, and that was right politically perhaps to do, but the president clearly yesterday had enough.
Well, I think had enough. Look, I think the break point is the New Yorker article. The New Yorker article is so dishonest, so totally phony, so lacking in anything that isn't laughable. I mean, this woman couldn't remember for 35 years, and then after 6 days of coaching by the New Yorker reporters and her lawyer, she suddenly remembers. She has nobody who can verify that what she said is true. The people she cited who should know it have all said it's not true. And yet it becomes a major New York article. Now, you know how bad it is. The New York Times spends several weeks and decides they can't publish it because there's, in fact, no evidence. And I think that's the moment that the average person who's reasonable said, this entire thing, as the president put it, is a con game. It is a deliberate smear. It is character assassination. And it is sad to watch the Democratic Party descend to this level of dishonesty and this level of trying to destroy people with zero evidence.
Newt, what do you think?
It's astonishing.
Newt, what do you think about these Republicans, National Review's Jim Garrity, and that Jennifer Rubin and the Washington Post, who are essentially saying that Ford's claims should bar Kavanaugh from the Supreme Court?
First of all, Jennifer Rubin is not a Republican except for the purpose of employment. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I don't think Jennifer Rubin's ever written a single positive word about Donald Trump. My question would be, we're going to set a standard. And I think a lot of women who have husbands and sons and nephews and what have you, fathers, a lot of them look at it and go, wait a second, you're going to say that an unsubstantiated allegation automatically destroys somebody's career? And I think then they begin to realize that, and I've had a number of women in the last 48 hours come up to me and say, this is crazy. That as a woman, they don't believe it's legitimate, they don't think it's fair, and they don't think it's true.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to this National Review. I mean, this David French, they're all never Trumpers. They hate Trump. This David French agreed and said if these allegations are true, it should mar him for life. What does that mean? And
I mean,
all these other people.
First of all, if everybody that we know were marred for life by either their high school or college experiences,
good luck.
It's going to become a very different country.
Yeah, well, and I think that, again, there's this, I don't know if it's this puritanical strain of the so-called conservatives out there. Who apparently, they are the moral arbiters of all that is good and not good, and certain people should not get redemption, and certain people are just too icky for for the conservative movement, and Trump doesn't read enough Cicero or whatever it is. And it's a type of snobbishness that has literally no constituency in the country.
No, but look, but this is how great revolutions occur. I mean, in 1936, Al Smith, who had been the Democratic candidate for president in 1928, who was very close to Franklin Roosevelt, actually recruited Roosevelt to run for governor in 28. Smith announced that Roosevelt was too liberal and he was leaving the Democratic Party. Theodore Roosevelt decided that the Republicans were no longer engaged in enough reform, bolted in 1912, and gave Woodrow Wilson the presidency. These kind, when you have periods of great change, some people are going to be left behind. They're sort of the historic wreckage. They're fossilized. These are people who are trapped in time, and gradually they lose readership and they lose importance, and they then disappear. And someday they get to write a memoir about who I once was a long time ago before you can remember.
The president spoke today, Newt, at the UN. He's chairing the Security Council meeting, and he brought up the issue of China in the 2018 midterms. Let's listen.
Regrettably, we found that China has been attempting to interfere in our upcoming 2018 election against my administration. They do not want me or us to win because I am the first president ever to challenge China on trade. And we are winning on trade. We are winning at every level.
What do you make of that?
We don't want them to meddle or interfere in our upcoming election.
So meddling in the election, a lot of people are thinking, well, they first heard that, is that Russia? No, it was China. So they obviously have some information about China's effort to stop his trade agenda. And I think he's right about that. They've never dealt with anyone like him.
Well, I think that's right. And I strongly support taking the Chinese head on. In fact, my next book is going to be on China, because I think they are the greatest competitor we face in the world today. I think they are determined to surpass us if they can. And frankly, since 1991, one of their great advantages has been that they've been in the World Trade Organization, and they have cheated every single year. I think the estimate this is under Obama, not Trump. Obama's director of national intelligence said that the Chinese stole $470 billion in intellectual property in 1 year, which was more than all of our exports to China. And so they have fueled their rise by stealing and cheating on trade, and the president is prepared to stare them down and to force real change. I think it's remarkably important and very healthy for the country.
Yeah, and people are making a big deal of this at MSNBC when the president was laughed at. He was laughed at by the UN yesterday when he said, we've had an incredible record. And did they used to laugh at Reagan?
If you watch the actual clip, he broke up laughing too and said, well, I guess you have a right to do that.
I thought he handled it great.
Yeah. Well, the speech itself, I tweeted out yesterday, and I was delighted, for example, that Sean Hannity actually used the last hour of his radio show to just run the speech, because I think it's the most important statement of American nationalism versus the globalist that anybody has made. I thought it was clear. I thought he was just setting down a line of principles. It was reinforcing a speech that John Bolton gave to the Federalist Society about the illegitimacy of the International Criminal Court, and I think it was also taking head on this entire John Kerry, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton globalism that would submerge America in the interest of bureaucrats and international lawyers. And I think it's a really important speech.
No, I agree. And again, it's something we haven't heard from a U.S. president in this post-WTO era. And a lot of presidents promised they were going to be tougher on China. And meanwhile, it got worse and worse for China as time went on. Newt, before we let you go, there's one other soundbite I want to play for you. This is the vaunted Dan Rather on what happens if the GOP confirms Kavanaugh. Let's listen.
In these theories of evolution, we talk about, what happened to the dinosaurs, and they got to be extinct. If the Republican Party isn't careful, that's what's going to happen to them, because they may be able to push through the Kavanaugh, railroad through the Kavanaugh nomination with what they're known on the Hill as the old bulls, the older white men who have the power. But this can't last because America's changing.
America's changing. White men. It's again.
Look, I wrote a newsletter this week and posted also at foxnews.com about the special election in Texas, where we won a seat on the border in the state Senate that we had not held in 139 years. It's a 73% black and Hispanic district. We elected the first Hispanic Republican to serve in the state Senate, and it was a big pickup, very, very important. And so we're winning races while these Washingtonians sit around lecturing us because they don't realize yet their view of the world is gone. I mean, that's why you see the hysteria and you see mobs trying to chase Ted Cruz out of a restaurant, and you see the kind of hysteria you get from Maxine Waters. They are losing. And if all of our base goes out to vote this fall, they will lose. The Democrats and the left will pay deeply for what they've done to Judge Kavanaugh.
I completely agree with you, and I think, again, it's time to put up or shut up. This is one of the main reasons Donald Trump won this election, the Supreme Court, and he's a good man. He should be confirmed. But I think a lot depends on his performance tomorrow. I think he was a little shaky in that Fox interview. I don't think it was great. It was okay, I guess, but I don't think it was great. He's got to bring an A game tomorrow.
He's not a natural politician.
No.
And he shouldn't try to be one. And I think I'm going to be with you tomorrow night afterwards, analyzing it on your TV show. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, Newt. You take care. Have a good rest of the day. Newt Gingrich tomorrow on the Ingram Angle.